What's up, good people? It's your girl, Nikki Blends, and I am so excited today. This is a vision that I have been sitting on for a minute, trying to wait for the time to be perfect. And I think in a lot of cases that hinders us from being able to really operate in what God has created us for because we're trying to be perfect instead of allowing Him to be perfect. So today is the official kickoff. Y'all know I've been doing the micro videos of the Legacy Speaks, but I always had this vision that this couch was here for a reason, that I would bring individuals to sit here that would speak life, that would encourage, that would talk about business and being able to do so much. So today, for the first guest, I'm super excited. My guy Nick here with Jonesy Cuts.
Appreciate it.
So that we can really talk it up about Barber.
For sure.
I mean, we know that barbering within the community has been a pillar. It's
Yeah,
something that serves in so many capacities, but we also know that there's crazy change that is happening right now.
it is.
So
It is.
without further ado, Legacy Speaks. Let's get straight to it. All right, so my God,
All right, for
you
sure.
have been barbering for how long now?
Almost 10 years now.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah, license going on a year. Yeah, I got a license last year.
Okay,
Yeah,
congratulations.
appreciate it.
So what has
Appreciate
the
it.
difference been with, as we all know, I started with the shirt of licensed barbers, members
Mhm.
club only, and really showcasing the importance of being licensed. But I will not negate the fact that that spark and that interest
Mhm.
has to come from somewhere. And so that exposure and sitting in it, but I'm proud of you because you didn't just stay there, right?
Right.
Seeing the money you can make. So how has it felt with you taking and finally being able to say, I'm a licensed barber now? Like, what is the difference, or what would you have to say to somebody that, you said 10 years, but been licensed for a year?
Mhm.
I've been cutting hair for 20 years, and I wound up taking and getting licensed in 2019.
Okay.
But I was a part of a apprentice program in 2017.
All right.
And so what would you say to them that may be, like, I don't really need to get licensed for this?
I think really, in all honesty, what people don't fail to realize is the responsibility that comes with being licensed. Because when you're not licensed, you can kind of move how you want to move without any restrictions, more or less. But there's also a lot of risks that come with that.
Mm-hmm.
But being licensed, you're also kind of protected in a sense as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I would have to say about that, though.
No, I think that's the key point. Anybody can cut hair, right? But when it comes down to understanding that safety and sanitation, I
Right.
think, that's where we're not being reckless and malicious in our approach. You
Exactly.
can be gifted and be good. Are there some licensed barbers that, aren't that good?
That's true.
Absolutely. But still, at least you have a standard in which you are to hold yourself to. I think that's one of the problems within the industry is that we have so many people that not necessarily on the barber side, but on the client side, they don't even realize the risk that they're running
Right.
by sitting in a chair of somebody that doesn't even use barber side. And are there licensed barbers that's not? Yes, still. But again, what do you have to hold that person to if you
That's
know
true.
right off the bat that they didn't even, go the extra mile?
And I think too, like when you talk about being licensed, I say responsibilities, but also people understanding that like the information that comes with
Mm-hmm.
having to be a licensed barber, understanding like the different skin diseases, STDs can be passed through
Mm-hmm.
straight razors, that people don't necessarily know about. I know there was what was it? There's an article I read, or a guy made a comment saying that a barber he went to didn't change the blade, and he ended up catching herpes simplex 1,
Mm-hmm.
and now he has herpes for the rest of his life,
Yeah.
just because of the barber not wanting to change the razor. But it's just awareness of that, having the right information and stuff.
Yeah,
So
for
yeah.
sure. And weirdly enough, like that's a conversation that a lot of people don't have. And
Hmm.
majority of the population carry herpes. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize it. Like it's been associated with other things such as eczema or chickenpox. And I asked
Hmm.
the doctor, and they said that it is in the family.
Right.
And so, with that being said, you already now have your risk and percentage up extremely high. And
Exactly.
then, when it comes down to STD testing, they don't even test for those things, right? And
That's
so it's
crazy.
just like we're walking around and putting ourselves at risk for the sake of a haircut. I really don't think that is worth it.
Hmm.
So, I've seen a lot of celebrities getting cut by individuals that boldly say that they're not licensed.
And I think that's crazy.
Yeah, they all hop in the comment quick.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. And don't get me wrong, like we all started unlicensed.
Yeah.
If you were like, excuse me, if you're like really good at what you do now, there were years where you weren't that good and you didn't have, that experience or that information. But yeah, it's kind of like you kind of gotta tread lightly. because I know in the state of North Carolina, like if you get caught running a business and you're unlicensed, that's a misdemeanor.
Right.
So you really have to be careful about how you move, when you cutting unlicensed. So
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
And I think that's the problem. A lot of people, have heard, but
Hmm.
the consequence hasn't felt hard. And that's where that challenge to the board, like, where are these individuals that are supposed to be popping up at the shops? Where are these
That's
individuals
true.
that are supposed to be taking and checking to make sure that individuals are
Mhm.
licensed and things? Like, why is it that we've always been threatened with the consequence, but that follow through has not been implemented? And so now you have it to the place where they're like, yo, I'm gonna run it up. But
Right.
now you see people that hop shops. You always had the shop
That's
first.
true. That's
And
true.
then now it's the flux of people cutting out of their garage, or people taking and getting apartments and cutting out of apartments.
That's true.
And so it's like, how do you feel like we could take and get a better hold on that? Because I saw a post where an individual was saying, oh, so we snitching now? Because it was supposedly where, this guy, he took and had a certain policy in place. And so the individuals went to another shop. And
Mm.
so somebody came and was like, hey, do you have, them on contract? He's like, no, people can go where they want to go. It's a new fancy shop, it's fine. Well, the people that went to the other shop wound up going to a newer shop supposedly,
Oh wow. Okay.
and somebody called the board and said, "Hey, that shop has unlicensed barbers." And so, of course, everybody was like, "So we snitching now?" But it's like, is that snitching? Is that not our responsibility to say something?
It is, but it's also business wise unethical for the shop owner to have people in the shop unlicensed.
There you go.
So if the shop owner was the one calling and saying, hey, they got people at this new shop unlicensed, well, that falls on you too.
Yeah.
Because they could say, well, that person let me, you know what I'm saying? It's all type of liabilities, but I get, where we are, especially like within our economy, people trying to make money to be able to eat,
Right.
but at what expense though?
Yeah.
You're putting a lot of people, general people, at risk for the sake of a dollar.
And
So
I love that you said that, because I think it's important to understand this isn't coming out with a t-shirt business.
correct,
This isn't, cutting grass.
correct,
Something that you can go do and make
hmm
that money, but lives are at stake.
right,
And I've always had to educate my guests that these are blades that's actually on your skin. So
hmm
every swipe, every time I use a disposable razor, like,
hmm
that's, a layer of your skin being cut away. Like, that's
right,
factual. And so with that being said, that exposure, because we have a lot of people that fail to realize, even with like the enhancements or the pencils, right?
hmm
So if I use a shield and I done laid that on the skin and I done laid it on another person, like, I'm still learning. And I was just like, yo, this needs to sit in the barber shop in between each guest.
hmm
Because those little nicks that's on the edge of the hairline, we think,
right,
oh, it's just a little spot, what we can't even see, but it's enough
right.
to
It's
expose.
very micro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're putting yourself at risk in that regard. And so, barbering now has gotten the attention of being a fast money maker.